Sully is directed by Clint Eastwood. It stars Tom Hanks as Chesley Sullenberger, a pilot who managed to land an Airbus in the middle of the Hudson River after a bunch of stupid idiot geese flew into his engines. Seriously, one job, geese? After successfully landing the plane on the water and saving all 155 people on board, the air authorities then were like, hey, you crashed our plane, dude, and that plane cost millions of dollars, and we want to know why you crashed in the water when you could have landed on one of two runways. And Sully's all like, no, I couldn't. And they're like, yeah, you could. And he's like, no, I couldn't. And so there's drama and conflict because they're like, yeah, you could. And he's like, no, I couldn't. I guess that's the best way to explain it. So other than the fact that somebody landed a plane in the middle of the Hudson River, I didn't really know too much about their story going into it, and it was really interesting. For starters, saying Tom Hanks was good in this movie is, kind of like saying water is wet. I mean, it's Tom Hanks. Of course he's good. He was awesome in this movie. And Clint Eastwood's direction was great, as per usual. It was actually one of his shortest films, going at, I think, 96 minutes or so. And yeah, I actually enjoyed the shorter runtime. So like I said, at the heart of the story is this conflict, between him and the air authorities. And it was one of those things that keeps you wondering all the way up till towards the end of the movie if there was actually going to be some sort of resolution, because it's one of those things where he's kind of looking like the authorities are actually getting the better of him, and you're kind of wondering how's he going to get out of this situation and whatnot. And the way it's handled towards the end was actually very well done. Obviously not going to give you any spoilers. Aaron Eckhart also gave a great performance as Jeff Skiles, the co-pilot in the situation, and it was great that Sully had a supporting character to what he was going through, because in the movie, he did have a wife who was played by Laura Linney, but I wasn't really convinced by that whole relationship. It was all done over the phone, so there was no real connection between the two as such. And it was almost like they threw her in just to kind of show that he has a wife, but I didn't feel any emotional depth to that story. There are also a lot of really well-known actors in supporting roles, including Anna Gunn and Sam Huntington, but I just kind of got the feeling that a lot of these people were sort of like, oh my god, I want to be in a Clint Eastwood movie. Pick me, no matter how big the role is. So it was interesting seeing all these people in these tiny little roles, and, they all did a pretty good job. Interestingly, the film was told in a non-linear fashion as well, in as much as we don't start off with the air accident and then the following court cases and what have you. We're actually introduced to his character after the event and what he's going through and, how much of a effect it's having on him. And then later on, we get to see the actual accident, which, I gotta say, looked fantastic. It was really convincing. The CG in that whole scene was top notch, and I couldn't fault it. Another thing that kind of brought it down a little for me, though, was the editing, and there was one scene in particular that really stood out to me where Tom Hanks and Aaron Eckhart are walking along the street at night having a conversation. Ordinarily in those kind of scenes, like, the dialogue is engrossing enough that that's what keeps you interested, but for some strange reason, they cut a lot in that scene, and there was even like a really brief shot, it might have gone for less than a second, where it cuts behind them and then back to the front, and it was just sort of, the camera was going all over the place, and it was really taking me out of the scene and a little bit distracting. And there were a few other scenes where the editing I thought could have been better. I actually read somewhere that Clint Eastwood's usual editor, who he's worked with for many years, this was the first time he hasn't worked with him. So, dear Clint Eastwood, you might want to go back to your original editor because he was good. But overall, I really enjoyed Sully, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. It was a fantastic snapshot of a piece of history that I didn't know too much about. It was a great portrayal of a character who had a really interesting story to tell, and it was a very well-crafted movie. I'm going to give Sully an 8 out of 10. So thank you very much for taking the time to watch my review. If you've seen Sully, let me know what you thought of it. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Drop me some comments either here or on Facebook. All my social media links are in the description below because I like to talk about movies and I would love to talk about movies with you. See you next time.
Hey you there. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Click subscribe. You see the big word up the top that says subscribe? Well, click on it. Click on it now! Do it! Yeah!